All right, welcome to the BellisarioSonic YouTube channel. I have with me saxophone player and owner of Cellar Music Group, Cory Weeds.
Hey,
Welcome.
come on. Thank you, man. It's good to be here. Good to be here again, chatting with you as always.
I really enjoy having you on, and you've been a busy guy, so we got a lot to talk about today, for
Yep,
sure. So we saw that you were in New York City,
I
and
was.
tell us a little bit about your trip there. And I saw that you shared on online some of the new records you bought. So I think it'd be kind of
Yeah,
cool to
yeah.
see what you bought, what you picked up.
So I was in New York City. I do a tour there every year that's called New York with Weeds. I've been doing it I've actually been doing it for 15 years. We missed a couple years because of COVID and all of that craziness. Um, and basically, it's where jazz fans really from all over the world. I mean, you don't have to be from Vancouver, where I'm from. You just have to be a fan of the music and get to New York City, and I sort of take you on this curated trip of New York City. We visit recording studios and jazz clubs, and really the kind of best part about the tour is that we organize a lot of private events, a lot of things that you couldn't do unless you were with me. So for example, we were in the studio of Rudy Van Gelder's for a live recording session. We were in another studio for a recording session. We were at a piano retailer for a private session that actually was being recorded. And
Wow.
so it's really fun. Well, like I said, I've done it every year. We're just getting ready to announce next year. We need about 25 people to go. We guarantee departure at 20 people, but we need 25 people. And it's just it's a really, really fun way to see New York City just doing things that, like I said, you would never have an opportunity to do these kinds of things unless you were with me. So, it's really a good time. And we get to see a lot of really cool stuff. And hang out with a lot of really cool musicians and a lot of cool people. And as you mentioned, in the downtime, we organized some record store visits, and this time was no different. I managed to hit three. Did I hit three? Yeah, I hit three of my favorites. Academy Records on East. I always get mixed up between Academy and A1 because they're in the East Village. I think Academy's on East 12th Street. Visited the Jazz Record Center. My good friend Fred Cohen at the Jazz Record Center, which is a really cool spot. And then upstate in Hudson Valley, I managed to make my way to Hudson Valley Vinyl, which is one of my favorite record stores ever. So, yeah, it was kind of cool. I got some cool stuff. I want to show you these two really cool things that I got. So, I have an affinity, like many people, for Horace Silver, but I have an affinity for three records in particular. They were all done in 57, 58. The stylings of, further explorations of, and six pieces of. Um, and I said to myself, if I ever walk into a record store and find original copies of those are the three originals I'm going to buy. I'm not a big collector for value necessarily. I mean, I have some, you can see my background. I mean, I have some very valuable stuff, but I don't have valuable stuff because I wanted valuable stuff. I either
Right.
inherited it or the record is special to me. So, anyways, I walked into the Jazz Record Center, and lo and behold, Fred Cohen had those three records,
All
all
three.
original. And check it
Wow.
out. So I don't know if you can see, but this is the stylings of Horace Silver. It's an original. It's
Oh, wow.
signed by Horace Silver,
Oh, that
uh,
is so cool.
and it's to George Shearing. It's from the collection of George Shearing. If you see
Really?
here close, you can see these braille labels on the side.
That is really neat.
It's crazy. So I had a little bit of a crisis of conscience in the store, and I only bought two. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't get the other one, but a good friend of mine bought the other one, so I know it's in good hands, and I know I can steal it from her at any moment. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
What else did I get? Prestige did these records with these singers that not a lot of people had heard of. They had this singer series. So this is one that I'd never seen before. It's by somebody named Birdie Green. And the band
interesting.
is
I've never seen that either.
super greasy. Johnny Hammond on organ, Houston Person on tenor, Thornell Schwartz on guitar. So I'm excited about that. What else? Oh, I've always wanted this record. I found it. I'm pretty sure this is an original copy. Tommy Turrentine on Time, Stanley's brother, and Stanley T's on that record. Phenomenal album. What else?
I've never seen that one either. Interesting.
That's a good record. I mean, this is a classic. Lou Rawls and Les McCann.
Les McCann.
You know, that's a good one. And then, you know, when I got home, you'll love this story. So I got home, and a sort of an acquaintance that I'd known for many years. It was okay because he was 91. He passed away. Big presenter in Vancouver for many years. He was kind of like the Cory Weeds of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, if you will. Anyways, he passed away. His record collection and book collection and everything was bequeathed to a friend of his who called me and said, I would like you to come and take all this stuff, and I would like you to get rid of it, sell it, or keep some of it and sell some of it, and make a donation to the Vancouver Jazz Orchestra Society, which is a society that I'm actually the president of. And it's a really cool. It's been a really cool collection to go through. It's very, very eclectic. There's not a lot of what we would consider collectible records, but what there are is some real, like, incredible historical Vancouver things. So this is a record by a tenor player named Roy Reynolds, who played in the Stan Kenton Band for many years. And Roy was a great tenor player and great clarinet player. This record is burning. And then I was really excited to find this. The cover is terrible, and it's from a CBC recording. It's called Canada, but it's a tenor saxophonist named Brian Barley. And for people, and Claude Ranger is playing drums, and Daniel Lassard is playing bass. And the funny thing about this record is if people heard this record and they knew that I liked it, they would be kind of weirded out because I kind of like my stuff really straight ahead, and this record is not straight ahead. It's definitely coming like kind of from the Sonny Rollins trio vibe, you know. Anyway, so yeah, I've been having a lot of fun kind of discovering some stuff and just some music that I don't normally hear, and so it's been good, man. I'm lucky. I have a good life. I get to just check all this stuff out in the daytime while my kids are at school and my wife's at work, and you know, I get to talk to you. I get to talk to you about it. So I think they call that living the dream. So I'm happy.
That's cool. So you got a really good score there. You got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I got some really nice stuff, and I don't always have luck when I go to New York record stores. You know,
you think they'd have a ton of? I mean, you think they'd have everything.
Yeah. I mean, so, you know, it just depends. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. What I can tell you is they have things that we never see. You know, so that's a fairly common theme. Is you see things that you just don't see on the West Coast or in Vancouver. You know, as you're going through the same record stores and stuff, you kind of see a lot of the same things. So it's kind of neat when you go to New York or anywhere else for that matter, and you see things that you don't normally see. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, you've got a lot of great releases that have come out here over the last month or so. This new year, you're off to a pretty good bang here. A lot of new stuff. So
busy.
Yeah, I want to talk about some of these records. I just had Piram Jin on to talk about this.
Yeah,
album.
That's a cool one.
And I really enjoyed this, and she was a blast to talk to. She's a lot of fun, and spoke about recording this. So this is actually one of the most popular ones I think I reviewed. I got a lot of views.
Yeah, that's funny. It's a great record. I mean, Piram Jin and I go back. She released a record with me, I believe, called The Real Blue.
Yeah.
And that was a good record. First of all, she's a wonderful human being. She's a very, very nice lady. So she came to me with this with this project, and it was a no-brainer for a number of different reasons, and it's a great record. It's turned out really well, and people have responded to it very well.
Yeah, a lot of great, covering a lot of the classics, which a lot of people I think nowadays don't do so often. They release a lot of their records with a lot of their own compositions, and this I like because they're really hitting on all these classics.
Yeah,
So
they sure are.
you got your Bolivia on here, Stablemates, Caravan,
Yep.
and so I really dug this. But you've got I found it very interesting, Cory, because you had a pretty wide variety of releases here over the last month or so. So you had this one here, Alan Friedlander's album.
Yeah.
Which is quite different, right, than a lot of the stuff you usually kind of release for the most part.
I think, I could tell you, it's funny that you say that because everybody's saying that.
Yeah.
And it's fair. It's a fair comment because I think in the early days of the label, but actually, that's not even true. I mean, I'll tell you what's ended up happening is with the popularity of the label, and I think, you'd have to ask musicians about this, but I think that they see it as a musician's label more so than any other label. And so they come to me knowing that I have a sympathetic or empathetic ear to, the plight of the independent musician trying to get music out. And, I have always booked music that appeals to me, and I've always released music that appeals to me first and foremost, but that doesn't mean I don't like other stuff, or it doesn't mean that I don't like, it doesn't mean that I won't release it because it's not my thing. And what I'm finding is that I'm getting older, my ears are expanding a little bit, and look, to be clear, the Elam Friedlander record, it's not like it's an avant-garde record by a long shot, it's not, but yeah, it's not straight ahead, hard driving, Art Blakey influenced jazz. But as you have noticed, and as the listeners have noticed, it's an incredible record. And why wouldn't I want that out on the label? Elam was really great to work with. And if I can help him realize his dream and make him feel comfortable and having his label be on a label that makes him feel good, then it's a win-win for everybody. So it's happening more and more. The other one that you probably had cross your desk is Jeffrey Dean.
Yeah,
that's the
next
same
one
concept.
next one I was gonna talk about. One.
That's also also a really, really wonderful record, a really, really wonderful album, and it's one that I am also quite excited about to have on the label. So yeah, I would say we're expanding our musical our musical avenues a bit for sure, and why not?
Yeah, I had Elam on the channel too, and spoke with him, and that was a pretty insightful conversation as well. He was really excited to have the album out, and so yeah, a lot of great stuff. This one I really enjoyed. I enjoyed all these. These are just all fantastic albums, but this is pretty cool. Kind of a soul jazz kind of record. This is happening.
Yeah, John Bentley's a great guy. John's a dear friend, somebody that I've sort of grown up with here in Vancouver. I think John gets pigeonholed a little bit and put into a bit of a corner because he has done music that is definitely left of center, shall we say. But he's an incredible saxophonist. And I have a funny story that I always love telling about John. We went to the same university. So I went to University of, now, back then it was called Capilano College. Now it's called Capilano University. I was there first, and I think John came in my second or third year. He was a skinny, tall kid, spiky haircut. He had this little silver alto. And not that I could play anything of note, but, we were like, who is this guy? Like, he can't really play. And, he's kind of scuffling around. We're like, man, this guy's never going to make it. John is the definition of dedication and hard work. Everything that John has achieved as a musician has been because of his perseverance, his dedication, and his hard work. He's one of the hardest working musicians I've ever met in my life. And so And I sort of felt personally that John was kind of forgotten. John is not what you would call a hustler per se. So I always sort of feel a little bit like he was kind of forgotten a little bit. And I always felt bad about that. So when I had the opportunity to extend some of my funding through the government to him, I jumped at the opportunity, and the result is a typical John Bentley record, completely thought out from start to finish, with everything from the artwork to how it was manufactured, etc. So I'm proud of that one. It's a nice record, and the band is great. It's all local, and they're really, really. It's a really big, great showcase for local Vancouver musicians.
Speaking of Canadian musicians, we got to talk about this, because I was very impressed with this. So we have to talk about this, which the arrangements on this, I really enjoyed this. I've been listening to this here. This is just fantastic. So
it's kind of before its time, It's man, that's such a cool. So I'll try to give you the short version of the story. So sorry, I need to grab this so I can show you. So that album features a lot of Fraser McPherson on saxophone. Fraser McPherson was one of the musicians who spent his time in Vancouver, who kind of got a little bit of fame across the border. And I mean, when I say fame, I'm, let's keep it in perspective. But he did get some notoriety across the border. But he was a staunchly loyal man, staunchly loyal family man. His son, Guy, who I became friends with, called me up during just at the tail end of COVID and said, I've written a book on my... Oh, actually, you know what? I need to back up. During our friendship and one of our many hangs together, Guy gave me those Dave Robbins tapes and said, oh, you should get these transferred. I think you'd really like the music. I got them transferred. I love the music. We applied for grants. We didn't get any grants. And it kind of just went away. I got other projects. Fast forward about 3 years, and Guy gives me the manuscript to the book he's written on his dad, which ended up coming out as this, which is a very clever title. I don't have to go anywhere. I'm already here, which is sort of speaks to the fact that in Vancouver, he was working all the time. Like, why would he have to move to New York or Los Angeles or a bigger center? Maybe the guy was working all the time. So I'm reading through the manuscript of the book, and I'm realizing as I'm reading through that these guys were all part of an orchestra that played at the Cabe Supper Club, which was a very famous Canadian supper club in the late 50s, early 60s, 70s. And they were backing up people like Mitzi Gaynor and Anne Murray and Paul Anka, and Buddy Rich would come, and they backed up Ella Fitzgerald. Like, it was really that kind of supper club back in those days. But these guys were playing every night and twice on Sundays. So they'd run Tuesday through Sunday with 2 shows on Sunday. Like, they were eating together, drinking together, hanging together, playing together. And although they were playing written music, they had this camaraderie that was, sort of unparalleled. And so what they would do is on Mondays on their day off, they would do these CBC shows. And for those, the Americans who are listening, which probably most are watching, it's like CBC is like your NPR. It's like our NPR. It's like our National Public Radio. But it was heavily, heavily, heavily funded back then. And they were doing all kinds of stuff. So they would do this live radio show, and they would alternate weeks. So one week it'd be Dave Robbins, and the next week it would be the Phil Nimmons 9, and they did that live in the studio. And it dawned on me at that point why those recordings sounded so good is because they were playing all the time together. So I went back and listened with a different ear, and I'm like, man, this stuff is really good. Nobody's going to know who these guys are, but I think it's really important not only for the history of the city, but for the history of the music. I think it should come out. And everybody that listens to it, Canadian or not, falls in love with it because the writing is incredible, The playing is incredible. And so in all of my all my producing credentials, that's one that I'm really, really very close to the most proud of, because it's kind of an underdog story, and it brings something to light that was happening in this city that I think was very unique to any city outside of New York at that time. And so it was very cool. So I'm really proud of it, and I'm always thrilled when somebody like yourself, or and I got an email from a guy literally yesterday, like, oh my God, this is like one of the greatest things I've ever heard. Thank you for your hard work, and so I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, and the sound quality is very good as well, and it's consistent.
Really good, because it was in the CBC studio. It just happened to be broadcast live.
Yeah, and both of the sessions are consistent. So that's one thing that, on a lot of these archival releases you'll have from different places, but of course these are recorded at the same place, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And so there's a nice continuity throughout the entire thing, and the sound quality is just wonderful.
Yep, totally. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's a really, another really cool release. And is that the only reel-to-reel you're going to have this year, or do you know yet?
Yeah, I think that that market, man, is getting so tough. I think it's the only one we're going to have this year. Yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's not an easy market.
Yeah.
Especially now with all of the reissues. So you used to, even 5 years ago, like Tone Poet didn't exist, or let's say 6 or 7 years ago, the classic series didn't exist. Kraft was doing nothing. So you had Zev Feldman, and you had a couple other smaller companies like ours doing archival releases, and that was it. Now you've got Kraft reissuing everything. You've got Bluno reissuing everything. So a guy goes into a record store, and now instead of having 4 or 5 choices to spend his money on, now he's got 15.
Yeah.
And we're not releasing the the heavy hitters like a Bill Evans or a Charles Mingus. So it gets really hard. So we're still searching for stuff, no doubt. We're still searching for stuff to put out. But yeah, there'll be more stuff. It's got to be the right thing.
Right. Yeah, and there's like you said, like this record store day, there are probably about 15 different jazz titles that are coming out, and they're all big names,
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but in the vinyl community, there's not very much openness to new, unheard of artists, unfortunately.
That makes me sad, but I get it. I get it. I wish it wasn't so, but we'll keep doing it. Like I said, we'll keep doing it, and we'll find grant money, and we'll find good reasons to get this stuff out and bring it to the public, and we'll keep trying.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because all the ones you've done so far have been fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's talk about this one that you're actually on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. This is kind of brings back the old battles, the old fun, back and forth type of competition, if you will, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
But this is a lot of fun. This is just a really
fun. It just makes me laugh every time somebody pulls out that record. And here's why. So, Nick is first of all, Nick is an incredible saxophonist, and he's a dear friend. I love him very much. He's a really good guy. And we built a friendship up over, several years. And, he's sort of one of those guys that, for me, label-wise, has just kind of fallen. I can't release everything, Matthew. Like, I want to, but I can't, and sometimes people just don't get recorded for various different reasons, none of which has anything to do with I don't think you're good or I don't like you, or it's just I can't do everything. Nick is one of those guys that has just sort of kept falling between the cracks. So he wanted to do something. He really likes the guys that he was playing with, Jesse Cahill on drums and Nick Peck on organ. He said, why don't we just record at the club one day? And I said, okay, you know what, man? I'll throw you a bone. I'll pay the money. I'll pay to have it recorded. and then we'll deal with it after. So in the interim, in the meantime, he said, would you like to do it? I think it'd be cool to do a 2-tenor thing. And I said, look, man, you don't have to do it. I'm a very self-deprecating guy to begin with. I'm like, dude, you don't need me, and you don't need me to do it. That's not part of the deal. That's not what he's like, no, I want to. I think it would be fun. So we did it. It went really well. But in the meantime, I think Nick had a return date planned, and we went in and finished it in the studio. And it's so funny how well that record's done. I don't mean financially. I don't know how it's done financially. It's too early to tell yet. But the response from people it's always surprising to me. People have responded to that record so well. So, it just goes to show you. I don't know what I'm talking about. You just do what you do, and
yeah,
you put the stuff out there, and you just hope for the best.
It's just a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun to listen to,
thank you.
And it's well recorded, both studio wise and the live. And I like the way it's put together as far as just the listening experience throughout the whole CD. So, yeah, this is a lot of fun, definitely.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good one. I'm happy with it.
Let's talk. I just had Eric on, so we got to talk about this record here.
That's a good one.
It's a good one, and pretty intense playing. Of course, this, you don't get much better of a player than this guy, but
you do not.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. And
Eric has been a friend. Eric has been a friend. And a mentor and a hero and all of those things for many years. He was one of the first jazz concerts that I ever presented before I owned my own club. And for the longest time, he was at High Note Records, where he was recording pretty much exclusively. And as soon as that sort of ended, I when I started the label 20 plus years ago, he's the guy that I wanted to be recording. And, the opportunity presented itself and I jumped on it. And Eric has done a bunch of stuff for me now. In fact, we've got another record in the can as well. And actually what happened was that record that you showed, Chicago to New York, or New York to Chicago, I can't remember what order. Yeah, Chicago to New York. He had already recorded that, and I knew that because it was part of a DVD project for something.
Yeah, he talked about that. It was a kind of a video project.
Yeah. And what happened is I had agreed to do a record with Eric, but I was uncomfortable with knowing that there was this other record out there that had been done in its entirety, just sitting there. I didn't like that. So I said, I'll do this new record, but you need to sell me that one too, and we'll put Chicago to New York out first. And then we'll put out the next one. The next one is incredible. It sounds phenomenal. And so does this one. So this one's got Mike Ladon, another dear friend, and George Flutis and Dennis Carroll, both of whom are Chicago guys. And, as always is the case, Eric picks great tunes. He plays soprano on this, which I think might be...
Someone was saying that. Is that the first time?
If it's not his debut, it's close to his debut. I don't think he's done soprano on any other recording, so that's cool. And Eric sounds great, and he's a beautiful guy, and he's an incredible saxophone player. So I'm excited about that. It was just another great addition to the catalog.
And when is the next the new one? The next one going to come out? Is that towards the end of the year? Or do you know?
The next one, if we keep talking, I'll be able to tell you here.
And what about vinyl? People, left comments on the channel, and they're like, "Well, this should be on vinyl." And I was like, "Well,
I know." And the issue, as I'm sure you know, and I'm sure you've heard, is you have to, you take a record like Elam and Jeffrey, for example, they're putting those out. They're deciding they want to do vinyl, and if I'm being quite frank about it, they're paying for it. So that's why you're seeing more things like the Empress and those kinds of records coming out, because they're paying for it. Because it's very, very expensive to do vinyl. The next record for Eric is in September.
Okay.
So you have these people putting out their own vinyl, and then you have the label stuff. It's expensive. It's really expensive, and it can be tough to sell. Like Eric's Timing Is Everything record, which came out on vinyl, it did okay, but I can tell you it didn't do well enough on vinyl to warrant doing this one or the next one on vinyl.
Yeah,
that's the key.
It really burns me, because how much of a better record do these people want to have on vinyl? It's like, this is pretty much straight ahead jazz. I mean, It's got some Coltrane stuff. You got, I mean, what else do you want? And that's kind of
I agree 100%.
I want to do it.
At the same time, you have to, you have to respect what the market is saying. Eric, and I don't mean this in a bad way, it's not really his responsibility, but Eric doesn't do any of his own selling. So, I do my records on vinyl, but that's because I've got them at every gig selling 2 or 3 at a time. I can make it through. If I make it through 100 at retail, then it's worth doing. Then I don't care how many the distributor sells. I think there's a bit of Eric is a bit of an interesting one, because Eric is a name in jazz, but I don't think these people, these youngsters, or even people who are discovering their love of vinyl, I don't think they're flipping through the bins going, oh, look, Eric Alexander, oh, Jeffrey Dean, oh, I'll buy that, the Empress, oh, I'll buy that. They're still buying Kind of Blue. They're buying Tone Poet. They're buying the names that they know. Train, Bill Evans, Charles Mingus, Charlie Parr. That's the stuff they're buying. So the vinyl thing is only going to work if the artist is good. Like, I know when I put out my own records, I'm good for 100. I'll sell 100 at retail. Right? So 100 at $30, now you paid for the pressing. So it's great.
Right.
You get 300 pressed, you sell 100, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it really saddens me, because I'm like, how many people are fans of jazz and how many people are just collecting records? I mean, that's just, I want to do a rant video on this. I might still do it, because I'm like, if you're going to keep jazz alive, you need to support these working artists. And that's,
Yep, I agree, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's a conundrum, if you will.
Yeah. Now, this is something I didn't expect, actually, Cory. and I love the blues. I love the blues, and this is a great record. So, how did you decide to put that out? Because that's not jazz, really. It's kind of a jump West Coast blues.
What happened with that is Paul is a good friend of mine, and we've been doing some work together. And I was. Do you have any of those? That Prestige series. There's a Prestige series called Bluesville.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I don't have any of those.
So they're great. It's down home. Like down home, I don't know. It's like down home, greasy gut bucket blues. Mm-hmm. And I went through a phase where I was really loving that stuff. And at the time, I was kind of hanging out a little bit with Paul. And I said, I think we should make a record. And I have funding to do it. And I want you to do what you want. Now, what I was thinking he would actually do, I was thinking that he would actually, my vision for his record was to do it, to do a small group or even solo, where he was just him and his guitar and singing. But he wanted to use this opportunity, and I understand now we had funding to do a full band record. So we actually just did the CD release. But, here's a funny thing. We didn't do it on CD, and people are mad at us.
You can't win.
Only on record, so it's like you can't win. You can't win. You can't win.
This sounds great on record, and I like the cover. I like the whole design of it. It's
he's a very 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 talented dude. Very very talented guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, he's a good friend, and I'm really happy that it's come out. We had a great release at the club this weekend. It was full. It was awesome.
I'm trying to get him on the channel. I had emailed him, and we were going back and forth trying to figure out a time where he can come on and talk about it. So
Cool. Yeah, that'll be great.
trying
Yeah,
to
he's
get.
awesome.
But that was something that I definitely didn't expect. I was like, oh, what is this? This is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, man. I feel like the label now is established enough that really I can do whatever I want. I mean, it's no longer. I don't really feel this need anymore to like. I'm established. So, and I think once you're established, then you can do whatever you want. Whereas 10 years ago, I wasn't established. So to deviate and the label now is about so much more than it's just a music label. It's not like I'm putting out tons of blues records, but yeah, we're doing some different stuff. Also, the fact that I have this funding from the Canadian government opens some things up for me. It allows me to take some chances that I otherwise might not take. So that's the other part of it.
So right now, what do you think the most challenging thing about running the label is? I mean, it's you've been around for 20 years, so you've gone from, right, starting off really small and then building up, and I mean now you're putting out quite a few. How many do you expect to put out this year total? Do you know?
It'll
yet?
probably be 4. It'll be in the 40 range.
That's a lot of
a lot of music.
releases.
I mean, I should say that I'm really lucky in that. I have never depended on the record label to pay my mortgage or to put food on my table. Now, I'm not suggesting for one second that I don't benefit from it financially. I certainly do. It creates a lot of opportunities for me. It's wrapped up into a bunch of the things that I do, but for the most part, it's fun for me. As I said, I don't have to stress if a record doesn't do well. And that's a really nice position to be in. It doesn't mean that, I don't have to stay vigilant and stay up on what's happening with the market, So, I mean, if you ask me, well, you did ask me, what's the hardest part? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't like saying no to people. I think that one thing as a label that we haven't done as well as I would have liked is that we haven't done really well at artist development. So you'll see a lot of one and dones with the label. And I don't really like that. Because it's hard. It's really hard. Like you'll see, like Warren Wolf went right to the top of the charts. Like we should be doing another record with him. Ulysses Owens Jr. did really well. We will do another record with him. Ed Cherry did really well. He's a little disappointed that we haven't done another record. Jalen Baker is another artist that part is something that I'm struggling with a little bit. Like how do we, or is it important to build, that's so, the hesitation in my answer is basically telling the story right there. That's the hardest part, is trying to figure out what artists we should develop or not, and why.
Right. Yeah. What about you see some labels, and I guess it's probably more, maybe a couple of labels still do it where they kind of develop a stable of artists that they get to come on and they kind of always play together, or maybe they'll be all rotating. You kind of do that on some of yours as well. You've got some people that, but is that something that you think is important to develop? Okay, we know that the like on Blue Note, that you've got certain people that they had signed to the label and they're going to play together eventually, or several of them are going to. I mean, what do you think about that? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. You're asking an interesting question. I mean, that's happening. That's happening a little bit already. You'll see people you'll see like a stable of people, like that you mentioned, like Tyler Henderson and Jacob Chung are are doing a lot of stuff the same. But yeah, like rhythm sections and house rhythm sections. I mean, I'm always thinking about it. My main thing is sort of more trying to figure out as leaders, what do we need to do as to develop more leaders. But yeah, I mean yeah, it's tough. It's tough to figure out what to record because there's only so much money. There's only so much money. So it's not always easy to figure out what to do, and sometimes it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go, or you're asking a good question. You're asking a good question.
What about owning your own recording studio? Is that something that's ever come into your mind? I mean, I know you recorded stuff at the club when you owned it, but do you think that opens up doors where if you had your own recording studio, you just bring people in, or do you think it's not really worth it?
I mean,
the cost.
There are grants that are out there that could help with that. I'm not sure at my age if I want to deal with that, but it's just certainly something I've thought about without question. Without question, I have thought about having an actual space. So those are things. Those are things that I'm constantly sort of thinking about, and But yeah, I think right now everything with the label is going well. We're doing it. It's going well with the way we're doing it. I'm not sure that anything really needs to be changed. That old question, like, what do you plan to be doing in 5 years? I don't know. I plan to be
still making records and playing music, right?
I plan to be making records. Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm really out to change the world. And I think that as long as I sort of keep that kind of attitude, I think everything will be fine, But yeah, I mean, I'm open if a space can, we live in one of the most expensive places in the world. So there's that element of things that we have to worry about too. It's not easy to just get a space, but yeah, I've thought about it. I've thought about having an all-encompassing space where we can record and have performances and have an office and all of that kind of stuff. Without question, I think about that stuff all the time.
Speaking of clubs, you're playing the Wednesday night at Frankie's, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that, because you're pretty much every Wednesday you do that, right?
Yeah. So before COVID, I started doing a night at Frankie's, and it was going really well. And then, of course, nothing was going well. The world stopped, and it took a long time to kind of come back. And Frankie's and I went through our period of I wasn't working there, and then I was working there, and then it was weird for everybody. It was a weird time. Everybody was trying to survive, including myself. And so now we've been back for some time, and we felt the club is on really strong footing. It's doing really well. We thought now would be a good time to start the Wednesdays, and I get to play with three young musicians who are just kind of starting their career here in Vancouver. They're great players, and it's just a really nice vibe. The wine's cheap, the cover's a little cheaper. It's kind of a way for us to say thank you for coming to all the big events, and why don't you come down and just kind of hang out in a more relaxed atmosphere. We still have our noise policy and we still do all that. But yeah, it's just kind of a different night, and people have responded to it really well. It's been packed. It's great.
And is that the same band every time, or is it an open jam?
It's the same band every time. Yeah.
Cool. So that's pretty. I got to visit there. That's on my list.
Are you in Arkansas?
I'm in Alabama. So I'm a long way away, but
your money goes a long way up here right now, though.
Well, I don't know what the conversion rate is now.
It's really good for you. It's really crappy for me.
Yeah, I hear you. I got to do a trip up there for sure. Since last I talked to you, this also came out, so we got to talk about this too, because I put this on my BellisarioSonic Awards as the best live album from last year and I think this is absolutely smoking. Of course, I mean, the caliber of musicians on this is incredible. The sound quality is fantastic. Thank you. So tell us about this. You got it behind you there too, but
So you can see on my
this is awesome. This is another one of these records, like What else do you want?
I
If you're
know.
going to buy a record, why wouldn't you buy this record?
I know. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. So that was part of my 50th birthday celebration. I turned 50 that weekend, and those guys were on a tour. And we did 4 nights at the club, and we recorded 3 of them. Eric and Mike. Mike mostly wrote brand new music for the date, so most of those tunes on there had never been recorded before. And it was a party, man. We had a party. We raised a bunch of money, and we released this double record. And we did it in limited quantities, but of course we have some left, which shocks the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and it's a great record. I mean, the guy. It was a really fun weekend. The hotel that they stay at is right above the club, and so they were just there. Everything was set. Music was burning. Everything just went well. Sheldon, who's the engineer, really has a handle on Frankie's as a room in terms of recording live. And then Mike took it and did all the editing. He did such a great job. And his sound guy in New York, Chris Sulit, mixed and mastered the record. And I mean, I can't be happier with it. What a incredible memento of a really, really, fun weekend for sure.
Yeah.
The playing is so
Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable.
great. Yeah.
Is there more? So I don't the entire recordings aren't on this, right? I mean, they're not all on there.
Yeah, I mean, we recorded 3 of the 4 nights.
And so is that something that
more? I mean, none of it's going to come out, but
okay?
Yeah, there is more.
So there won't be a part 2.
I don't think so. I mean, you never know, but I don't think so.
Well, this is definitely one of my favorites. And again, for those people out there watching, the level of players on here is unbelievable. I mean, this is like the all-star.
It's a good one.
All-star lineup. I mean, incredible.
And they're really giving her too. I mean, even though it's a live record and they know it's being recorded, they're really giving her. It's fantastic.
And what do you think about recording live versus recording in a studio personally, as far as how you view it? Because playing as when I was talking to Eric, he was talking about being a leader, recording in a studio versus being a sideman. It's completely different. The
live thing. Well, first of all, it depends on who the engineer is. I like the idea of recording live because, you play it and it's gone. Whereas in the studio, you're a little too concerned about, I can fix that. I can do this. I can do that. Both of them have their benefits and both of them have their, deterrents. But I'm cool with either way. If you put a gun to my head, though, I would say you probably want to be in the studio because you have more control overall.
As a lead, is there more pressure as a sideman though when you play with somebody? As far as
I don't think there's more. I think there's just pressure being a sideman. I don't think recording really. I mean, there's just pressure when you're a sideman to make the leader happy. In whatever aspect.
Right. So you also have a record coming out soon of your own, which I pre-ordered. It's supposed to be coming out. Do you know when is that coming out? It's supposed to be coming out soon.
Delayed till late April.
Oh, crap. Well, that's not too long, but
yeah, it's coming.
So tell us about that experience and what this record is going to be.
Yeah, so that oddly enough, it's the first record I've made, in my professional career that's not for my own label. It's Coherent Records, which is Kevin Gray. So whoever, your vinyl heads that listen to your show here will be very familiar with Kevin. Mm-hmm. Kevin masters and cuts all the lacquers for the Tone Poet series and the classic series of Blue Note. And it was produced by Joe Harley, who produces and oversees and supervises that whole catalog. 2 really wonderful guys. It was an incredible opportunity to go to Los Angeles, record all in the same room in very tight quarters with 4 microphones. I don't have anything bad to say about it. It was an incredible experience. It was about myself, David Hazelton on piano, Neil Miner on bass, and Byron Lanham on drums. And I feel very honored that that opportunity was bestowed upon me. They're very happy. I'm never happy, but that's not an indication of how the record sounds. I'm just not very good I'm not a very good judge of my own playing, so they're very happy, and it was just overall it was a great experience. We picked some lesser known tunes. We wrote some tunes for our friend Jim Rotundi, and we played a couple lesser known jams by like Harold Vick. David did a great arrangement of Deep in a Dream, which Sonny Clark played with Hank Mobley. And the whole thing was really good. I'm really excited about it, and they're really excited about it. So that's awesome. So it was really cool. It was very, very cool experience.
Did you already have in mind who you were going to play with or who you wanted to play with on the record? Because, I mean, obviously you could play with a lot of different musicians.
I did. And the reason is, I mean, well, first of all, David is one of my closest friends, and he's one of my favorite musicians. So there's that. But given the circumstances of the logistics of the recording, all being in the same room, going essentially straight to 2-track, no editing, no real mixing, I needed somebody that I was going to be really comfortable with. And so it was important to me to be with somebody that I was going to be comfortable with, and also somebody that I could write with and work through tunes with. And Hazeltine, you know, he's the perfect choice. I mean, he's the perfect choice for so many reasons, but that one of the main ones is just I have such a great working relationship. I wasn't worried about I just wasn't worried about anything like that. So that made it much easier to to pull off. It's a hard thing to pull off because, like I said, you're in the same room. It's 4 mics. You don't have editing. There's no editing. There's none of that stuff. So you have to be really. You got to have your shit together. You really got to have your shit together. Yeah. Is really the best way to put it. You know. And apparently we did. Like I said, they were happy. You know, there were some challenges. There are definitely challenges to recording in that kind of format. It's not easy. It's not always easy. But we worked through those challenges, and I think we got a great record out of it. And as I keep sort of alluding to, they were happy. Therefore, I am happy.
How was the experience? How was that? Because I mean, is this the first time you probably recorded that way, right? Going straight to.
I mean
that's not very. Doesn't happen very often.
It's not the first time that I recorded like that, but it's the first time where there really was no editing. Like, right. You know, I've recorded straight to the floor too. It's like, oh, we can edit that and we can do that later. No, this was not that. I mean, he was mixing the record on the fly. And they made some slight adjustments, like they can add reverb and things like that. But I mean, this was like a real. It was a real situation, man. I mean, it was real. It was a different situation than I'm used to. But you know, once you got used to it, and you know, we were also really prepared. So we played a weekend at Frankie's beforehand. And so we went in there, we were ready to rip. We were ready to go. So we had the tunes together. We had played through them. I had done a gig in New York also earlier that month. So, you know, I mean, if you can't play that music after having that many cracks at it, then maybe you shouldn't be playing that music. You know, is what it really is, what it boils down to, you know.
So you'd played through all the tunes that you were going to play on the recording before, yep. And so when you got in there, you pretty much just play. How many takes? Is like just 1 or 2 takes of each song? Or?
In some, not even. We did the whole record. It's a record for Coherent. We did it in 3.5 hours. And they had us out for 2 days. They had us out for 2 days. So the next day we spent mixing and picking takes, because we did do multiple takes, and mixing and just getting it so it was done. So I mean, I think he was like sending it to the lacquer place like really quickly, you know. So they were thrilled, you know. They were really thrilled. And Joe produced it. So when I have a producer, I'm like, I mean, unless there's something I really, really, really despise, I was just like, you're happy, I'm happy. If you like that take, then I'm good. Let's move on. And that also made it much more expedient for them, because I was just like, I didn't fight with them at all. I was just like, okay, you like it, we're good to go. So.
So that helps to have a producer that can.
Oh yeah, big time.
I mean, versus doing it yourself.
Big time. Yeah, big time.
Was it just take some pressure off? He's able to.
Takes a ton of pressure off. I mean, the only thing that was a little bit weird on his end is that, it's Joe Harley. I mean, he's the producer for Charles Lloyd, and he spends his days listening to, like, Hank Mobley and Dexter Gordon records to remaster. So, like, that's weird,
Was there a certain sound that you want this record to sound like? Like, were you like, okay, I want this to sound like an old Blue Note record, or did you have
I sort of already knew that was going to be the vibe. I think that's also part of why they called me. So, I mean, they were very cool in allowing me to be involved. But I'm like, hey, guys, you're paying me and my band to come down and make a record for you. I'm away from my kids. I'm away from my family. I'm away from the club. I'm just down in Los Angeles. I'm like, man, I'll do whatever you want. I'm happy. So they were so together with all that. So, I mean, it was awesome.
And so that's going to be coming out at the end of April.
End of April.
Awesome. Well, I got my copy pre-ordered. I'm sure that's going to do well. So
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, because those they do a really good job. I think, what does that come out of the In-Groove?
That's
the
right.
In-Groove
Correct.
is where they're selling those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, is there a limited amount of those made, or did you?
That I don't know. I'm not sure.
How many they're gonna?
I don't know. That's one I don't know.
So looking on the Bandcamp, you've got still more coming out here soon. I think I saw Charles Chen. He's got another one coming out, right? So I'm excited about that, and I think that one's coming out on vinyl. Actually, right now, I think that's when I was on the website the other day, I think right now that's one of the only ones coming out on vinyl here in the next.
I have a record coming out with Jerry Weldon. That one's coming on vinyl.
Okay.
But yeah, you're talking Bandcamp. There's another one from Chris Smith coming on vinyl. Yeah, there's some ones coming. Some ones coming on vinyl.
Awesome. I'll have to work something out there and get these from you.
Yeah, there'll be some treats for you coming for sure.
Definitely excited about it. Cool. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to hang out. And any other stuff going on for you coming up?
Now I'm a little bit. I mean, there's always stuff going on. I'm kind of in family mode now with my kids, and I'm in town. I'm not traveling to play other than some little things here and there. So I'm lucky. I'm busy. I got lots of cool stuff going on. So yeah, just listening to records, hanging out. This is kind of a slower time for me, which is nice.
Taking a little break.
Yeah, I mean, a break might be a strong word for it, but yeah, trying to do less for a minute.
I hear you. Cool. Awesome. We'll appreciate you coming on, and we'll do it again when we get another batch of new records.
Thank you, man. Anytime, reach out anytime. I'll do my best to get you that new stuff ASAP.
Yeah, I'm enjoying reviewing them, and they're all fantastic releases. So I'm happy to share all these records with people, and I just again, I might do my rant video here pretty soon. Telling people,
let me know.
You need to support working artists and independent record labels. Want to keep
Thank
this
you,
going.
man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. We'll sign off, and we'll talk soon.
Be well. Thank you, Matthew.
See ya.